When we allow ourselves to live according to our own truth, we become more authentic in the relationships we build. And this reflects in our environment, in the people we attract, and in the situations we experience. When we truly love ourselves, what we offer to the world is a more genuine and balanced version of who we are. The masks fall off, the barriers dissolve. By connecting with our deepest selves, we begin to create deeper and more meaningful connections with others. True freedom lies in being who you are, without fear, without disguises. That doesn't mean you will be perfect or that you will never make mistakes again, but it does mean you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to accept your imperfections, and still consider yourself worthy of love and respect. True self-love is not about seeking external approval, but about the unconditional acceptance of yourself, with all your qualities and flaws. Therefore, when walking the path of self-love, remember that the journey is never linear. There will be moments of doubt, of challenges, and setbacks. But each step is an opportunity for growth and evolution. What matters most is not giving up, even when it feels hard, because self-love, in the end, is about finding peace and acceptance within yourself. Regardless of external circumstances, the message Jung leaves us is clear. True freedom, true happiness, can only be found within ourselves. It doesn't matter what the world expects of you or what people say. Self-love is a continuous process of self-awareness, acceptance, and transformation. By accepting your wholeness, both your light and your shadow, you move toward true fulfillment and inner freedom. This process of transformation never has a final destination. The journey toward self-love, although deeply enriching, requires a constant willingness to look within and make adjustments, to revisit beliefs, and to question patterns that no longer serve you. As we grow and evolve, the way we see ourselves and relate to others also changes. This means that at different moments in life, self-love manifests in different ways. It is not rigid, but fluid, adapting to the needs of each phase of our existence. The big mistake we often make is expecting self-love to be a state of static perfection. We expect that once we've achieved it, it will remain unchanged, but that's not true. Self-love is a daily practice and a constant commitment to self-development. With each new discovery about who we are, with each new challenge we face, we must once again look at ourselves with compassion, as if we were starting over. And that's the most beautiful part of this journey. The opportunity to begin every day, to reinvent ourselves and to accept ourselves with every step. Jung also speaks to the importance of integrating the repressed aspects of our psyche. Often, out of fear of not being accepted or of not meeting expectations, we hide parts of ourselves, as if they were flaws that need to be ignored or forgotten. Yet these parts are often essential for our growth. The shadow, as he calls it, is made up of all that we repress, but by recognizing and integrating it, we become more whole and authentic. True self-love, then, is not about eliminating these parts, but about accepting them, understanding that every part of who we are has its value and significance. Another important aspect is that self-love is directly linked to our capacity to forgive. Not just others, but especially ourselves. Every mistake, every failure, every moment of weakness is an opportunity to learn. If we continue to punish and condemn ourselves, we remain trapped in the past, unable to move forward. Forgiving yourself is liberating, and it's a crucial step on the path to self-love. When we forgive, we stop carrying the weight of guilt and shame, and we can finally look at our lives with more clarity and compassion. Many people think that self-love is a solitary path, but in fact, it has a profound impact on our relationships with others. The more we love ourselves, the more we are able to love in a healthy and balanced way. The love we receive from others is often a reflection of the love we feel for ourselves. By accepting and caring for ourselves, we create a solid foundation that allows us to connect with others in a more genuine way, without excessive expectations or the constant need for validation. This doesn't mean we don't need affection or support from others, but it means we are able to emotionally sustain ourselves, even in difficult moments. In the end, what Jung teaches us is that self-love is a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. It is not something you achieve once and for all, but something you cultivate throughout life. Every step on this journey is a victory. Every reflection is a step closer to reconciliation with yourself. What matters most is never giving up on this pursuit. When we are truly able to accept ourselves with all our imperfections and strengths, we begin to live a fuller, more authentic and freer life. So as you reflect on everything said so far, think about where you are in your journey of self-love. What's still missing for you to fully accept yourself? What steps can you take today to start walking in that direction? Remember, every small effort counts. And even when it feels difficult, you are closer than you think to finding inner peace. The journey is long, but it is within this journey that the true meaning of life lies. It's important to remember that the path of self-love is not a straight line. There will be highs and lows, challenges and discoveries. You may feel lost at times, or even doubt your ability to fully love yourself. That's natural, it's part of the process. Life is full of changes, and self-knowledge is not a fixed goal but a journey that unfolds as we move forward. Every obstacle, every difficulty faced, every step toward accepting who we are is a meaningful advancement. That's why it's essential to be patient with yourself and to remember that each new day is another opportunity to reconnect with your true essence. Another fundamental point to understand is that self-love doesn't mean living in isolation or being indifferent to external criticism. What it teaches us is how to set healthy boundaries and develop the ability to listen to criticism constructively, without letting it deeply affect our self-esteem. When we are aligned with our inner worth, external opinions lose their power to shake us in a negative way. After all, we are more focused on who we are and what truly matters, our own well-being and growth. This doesn't mean ignoring other people's opinions. It means being selective about how we absorb that information, accepting only what helps us grow. Have you ever felt disconnected from yourself? As if the constant search for external validation was never enough? C.G. Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, teaches us that self-love is not a simple act of self-esteem. It is a deep and often painful journey, a path of self-discovery that demands the courage to face what we'd rather keep hidden. And today, we're going to explore this process, from the illusion of the ego to the encounter with the true self. Nowadays, we hear a lot about self-love, but do we really understand what that means? Many confuse self-love with self-assertion, with motivational phrases in the mirror, with likes on photos and compliments from others. But as Jung teaches us, true self-love cannot be sustained by external validation. It must come from an inner dive. When we seek to be loved before loving ourselves, we enter a dangerous cycle. We create personas, social masks we wear to be accepted. We become great professionals, perfect partners, amazing friends. But behind that mask, there is often fear, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. So the question we must ask is, what happens when we take off the mask? Jung talks about the shadow, the hidden side of our psyche, where we store everything we reject in ourselves. Fears, traumas, insecurities. The problem is, when we don't face our shadow, it manifests in other ways, in bursts of anger, in disguised envy, in self-sabotage. Often, we project that shadow onto others. We criticize in others what, deep down, we haven't accepted in ourselves. We judge someone else's failure because we are afraid to fail. We reject others because we fear we are not good enough. But Jung warns us, true self-love can only exist when we stop running from our shadow and begin to integrate it. But how do we do that? The first step is to look inward and accept that we are not only light. We have flaws, and that's okay. We don't need to be perfect. We need to be whole. When we accept our shadows, something powerful happens. We become more authentic. This is the process Jung calls individuation, the path toward becoming who we truly are. But be careful. Individuation doesn't mean isolation. On the contrary, those who truly love themselves do not need others' approval to feel complete. They share love because it overflows, not because they need to be filled. Think about it. Many relationships fail because we expect others to complete us. But how can someone complete us if we don't even know who we are? Self-love teaches us that before seeking love outside, we need to cultivate it within. Here lies the greatest secret. Self-love is not a destination. It is a process. It is not something we achieve and that's it. It is a daily journey of acceptance, growth, and reconciliation. Every day we face challenges, insecurities, and doubts. But each time we choose to welcome ourselves instead of punishing ourselves, each time we treat ourselves with compassion instead of self-criticism, we take another step on this journey. And that is how we free ourselves, not by seeking perfection, but by embracing who we truly are. So I ask you, do you truly know yourself? Can you look in the mirror and accept every part of who you are? According to Jung, the path of self-love is not easy, but it is the only journey capable of bringing us true peace. When we stop seeking love outside and find it within, we become free. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And remember, your journey to true self-love begins now. Leave your comment. What was your biggest insight today? This journey isn't about reaching a finish line. It's about the willingness to continuously transform. Self-love, contrary to what many believe, is not a fixed destination. It's in constant evolution, just like us. Every time we go through hardships, face our shadows, or challenge ourselves to grow, we're deepening our love for who we are. That's the secret to true transformation. Not seeking perfection, but offering unconditional acceptance to who we are, with all our flaws and qualities. Jung also teaches us that when we embrace our wholeness, we become able to live more authentically and fully. From the moment we abandon the masks we wear to please others, we can finally live according to our inner truth. And when that happens, the world around us begins to reflect that authenticity. We start attracting healthier, more genuine relationships, and we experience life with more peace and satisfaction. Self-love is the key to emotional freedom. It doesn't mean isolating yourself or becoming selfish. It means recognizing yourself as the center of your own universe. When you take care of yourself, you're preparing to be better for others. After all, you can only give what you have. When you truly love yourself, you're able to give genuine love, without expectations or emotional dependency. So, if you still seek external approval, feel trapped by other people's expectations, or if your self-worth depends on outside factors, it's time to take the first step toward individuation. The path of self-love requires courage, yes, but it is through it that you'll discover a fuller, more conscious life that's deeply connected to your true essence. The path is hard, but the reward is immeasurable. And remember, this journey has no end, because true transformation lies in living with the purpose of being who you truly are, without getting lost in the world's expectations. Now I invite you to reflect. What have you been doing to nurture your self-love? What steps are you taking to integrate your shadow and get closer to your true essence? What do you still need to accept in yourself to be free and live more authentically? If these questions touched your heart, know that you're on the right path. No matter where you are right now, the most important thing is that you've started the journey. And by doing that, you've already taken the first step toward true freedom and inner peace. As we move forward in this process, it's essential to remember that self-love doesn't appear overnight. There's no magical moment where everything is solved and we suddenly feel whole. It's a continuous process of discovery, ups and downs. But with each step, we get closer to our truth. Each day we choose to look at ourselves with more kindness. Each time we forgive ourselves for our mistakes and flaws, we're building a more solid and honest relationship with ourselves. A crucial part of this journey is learning to deal with the inner critic, that voice that often tells us we're not good enough or that we don't deserve good things. That voice is often the echo of our deepest fears and insecurities. Jung teaches us that it's necessary to have a dialogue with that voice, to understand it and often challenge it. We must not let it define who we are or dictate our worth. By confronting these self-critical thoughts with compassion and understanding, we can transform them and strengthen our self-esteem. The beauty of Jung's process of individuation is that it allows us to recognize that we are, at once, complex, multifaceted beings in constant evolution. Self-love, in this sense, is not a state of perfection, but a deep acceptance of our imperfection. He teaches us that we don't need to be whole or perfect to be worthy of love, but that our worthiness comes from the simple fact of being who we are, with all our flaws, dreams, and potential. In other words, self-love is a process of integration and acceptance of all aspects of ourselves, not just the parts we like or those that are socially accepted, but also the parts we often want to hide or reject. And by integrating those parts of our psyche, we become more whole, stronger, and more balanced. The key to self-love lies in the courage to look at ourselves without masks and still accept ourselves, not because we are perfect, but because we are genuine and human. If you're on this journey now, know that you are exactly where you need to be. The fact that you are reflecting on self-love is already a huge step. And even if the challenges seem overwhelming, the journey will be worth it. You are freeing yourself from limiting beliefs, reconnecting with your true self, and slowly discovering the transformative power of acceptance and self-compassion. So keep moving forward one step at a time. And remember, self-love is not something you achieve once and for all. It's a daily practice, a constant choice to respect, care for, and love yourself exactly as you are. Each time you look in the mirror, try not only to see the person you want to become, but also accept who you already are with all your complexities. And as time goes by, you'll see how the journey of self-love makes your life richer, more authentic, and above all, more free. There is no more powerful path than the one that leads to reconciliation with yourself. And that's the journey that, in the end, brings true happiness. Because only when we truly love ourselves can we live an authentic and fulfilled life. And remember, you are never alone on this path. We are all, in different ways, searching for acceptance and love. By sharing and living your process, you not only grow stronger, but you also inspire others to do the same. The path of self-love is for everyone, and each step taken on this journey is a celebration of who you are and all you're still becoming. As we continue along this journey, it's important to recognize that self-love is not a fight against who we are, but a deep acceptance of our humanity. We are complex beings, full of nuance, contradictions, and, above all, potential for growth. The search for true love for oneself is not a linear process of overcoming our flaws. On the contrary, it's a process of welcoming the parts we see as weak or imperfect. It's through that acceptance that we find the power and strength to transform those parts. Genuine self-love can only exist when we look inward without the weight of judgment, but instead with the lightness of compassion. Moreover, the self-love journey asks us to abandon the idea that we must be perfect to be worthy of love. Jung teaches that instead of fighting against our imperfect nature, we should embrace it. That acceptance is what allows us to heal and evolve. By accepting our imperfections, we can learn from them, turning them into sources of wisdom and growth. When we stop expecting perfection, we can begin to live more authentically and genuinely, experiencing life in all its complexity and beauty. This process of acceptance is not easy and does not happen overnight, but it is the foundation of true self-love. Many people still look outside themselves for what already exists within. They look to others to fill the void they feel in their lives. But what Jung teaches us is that instead of seeking in others what we lack, we must search within ourselves for self-love. It's the understanding that we don't need to be completed by someone else, because we are whole and complete in our own essence. When we learn to fulfill and sustain ourselves, the love we offer to others becomes healthier, because it no longer depends on being validated or completed, but flows from the abundance within us. It is only from this perspective of emotional self-sufficiency that we can have more genuine, healthy relationships. Another important reflection is that along this journey, we must learn to set boundaries. Many times, out of fear of not pleasing others or being rejected, we submit ourselves to situations that are not healthy for us. However, self-love teaches us that setting boundaries is an act of respect toward ourselves. It's not about being rigid or inflexible, but about recognizing that our energy, time, and well-being are valuable. Learning to say no without guilt, prioritizing what is truly important for our emotional health, and knowing when to walk away from toxic situations, these are fundamental steps on this path. Self-love also means knowing what nourishes us emotionally and what drains us, and choosing wisely where to direct our attention and energy. The process of individuation, as Jung describes it, is the continuous journey of integrating all parts of ourselves, the ones we accept and the ones we try to hide. This is one of the greatest lessons of self-love, total acceptance of our wholeness. We are multifaceted beings, with light and shadow, virtues and flaws, and it is only by recognizing these parts without condemnation or denial that we can reach inner peace. When integrated, these parts of our psyche form a unified whole, and that wholeness is the key to true self-love. Instead of fighting who we are, we make peace with our essence. So as you continue on your journey, remember, self-love is not about reaching a fixed state of happiness or perfection. It is a daily practice of acceptance, of self-compassion, and of transformation. And though the path is not easy, the reward is immense. By truly loving yourself, you become freer to live in alignment with your true essence, to build more authentic relationships, and to face life's challenges with courage and resilience. If you still feel lost or overwhelmed by the idea of loving yourself, know that it's okay. This journey is not about rushing. It's about embracing every step, every achievement, and every challenge. As you learn to treat yourself with more kindness and respect, you'll see that life begins to reflect that internal change. And so, with each day, you'll get closer to your truest and most authentic self. The journey of self-love, though challenging, is one of the most rewarding paths you can take. There is no better investment than the time spent cultivating the love that comes from within.